O'Reilly.com.
Auto Parts.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. He's Hacker.
So much so that I had to ask around. I'm like, hey, I'm kind of a nice guy, right?
Hacker is an ass.
I try, as I'm getting into my old age at 39 years old, try not to let things bother me. Just know that I'm ultra soft.
And he doesn't shy away from opinions.
See Baker Mayfield throw 4 passes, but I get to see this homeless guy return a ball for a touchdown.
It's Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
And a very good Monday evening to you, Jacksonville. It is Hacker After Dark, 1010XL 92.5 FM with Dylan Denmark. The Hacker Ryan Green with you. Glad you are with us as the Jaguar bye week now in the rearview mirror as they start preparing for the San Francisco 49ers that come into town on Sunday. Everbank Stadium, 1 o'clock. Of course, you'll hear it right here on 1010XL. Boy, it's a good weekend. Good weekend of football. Starts Friday night, round 1 of the state high school football playoffs here in Northeast Florida. Then on Saturday, you got Ole Miss and Georgia. You got Miami and Florida State. You got Florida and LSU. And then, of course, the Jaguars and the 49ers on Sunday. And we'll get you ready for all of it over the coming week here on Hacker After Dark. Guest lineup looks like this. Coming up in about 20 minutes, a little under, my friend Mark Long of the Associated Press. Love talking ball with Mark. We'll talk Gators and Billy Napier. More on that in a moment. We'll talk Jaguars as well with Mark Long of the Associated Press. About 9 o'clock, top of the 9 o'clock hour, Bill Bender, national college football writer for the Sporting News, to talk Florida, but also focus on Florida State and Miami, a little bit on Ole Miss, Georgia. And then later on in the 9 o'clock hour, it is Monday Night Coaching with Campo. My friend Dave Campo, former head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. He's with us every Monday here on Hacker After Dark. But as we do every night, to kick it off here on HAD, we give you a big deal of the night and Dylan Denmark. Let's do that right now.
Time now for the big deal of the night.
What's the big deal?
What is the big deal?
No big deal. It is a big deal.
On Hacker After Dark.
So much to get to after this past weekend. We got 2 big deals of the night. One in college revolving around Florida, which I'll get to in a moment. The first on the Jacksonville Jaguars and primarily some of you, the Jaguar fan base. Yesterday, minding my own business, watching the Red Zone, the glorious, glorious Red Zone channel. Jaguars off, enjoying Red Zone. Watch C.J. Stroud from Houston do what no NFL rookie has ever done at quarterback. Throw for 470 yards, 5 touchdowns in a come-from-behind win over Tampa. Was outstanding. And then, unfortunately, I make the decision to log on to the trash can of America, that being Twitter, or I guess X as they call it now. That's a horrible place sometimes, man. Just horrible. Unfortunately, I'm like addicted to it, and with the line of work I'm in, I have to be on it. But it is a cesspool. Just terrible. And I'm reading some of these things from some people that claim to be Jaguar fans. Oh, C.J. Stroud is better than Trevor Lawrence. I would take C.J. Stroud right now over Trevor Lawrence. It was enough to make my head almost want to explode. I think Jacksonville Jaguar fans, not all, not most, not even half, but the few that make their voices heard or their thoughts heard on social media, Denmark tries to remind me of this constantly, and he's right. Twitter is not the world. Twitter is not reality. Twitter is a very, very, very small sample size of our listeners. I imagine for every 100 people listening to my voice right now, probably 10 or 15 of you are on Twitter. But you kind of get caught up in it in the moment, And I'm seeing all these responses and things come in last night about C.J. Stroud this and C.J. Stroud that. And then it continued into the evening hours and continued even today. And I had a thought, and it revolves around those of you claiming to be Jaguar fans that always seem to find the negative in what the Jaguars are doing, despite the fact that they're 6-2 this year. I think it's PTFD. I think it's post-traumatic football disorder. The Jacksonville Jaguars beat this fan base up for 15 years. They were terrible. You suffered as a Jaguar fan with loss after loss after loss and horrible draft pick after horrible draft pick after horrible draft pick and horrible free agent acquisitions for the better part of 15 years. That's a long time. Think about where you were 15 years ago in life. 15 years ago, I was 25, running and ripping in Jacksonville Beach. Denmark, 15 years ago, you were 10, probably in 4th or 5th grade. 15 years is a long time for a team to be terrible. And the Jaguars were terrible for about 90% of the last 15 years. And I think some of the fans, maybe even some of you listening to my voice right now, but certainly those that are vocal on social media, were beaten down and have been beaten down so much by this team that even though times are good now, even though that arrow is clearly pointing up, even though it looks like the Jaguars, barring anything catastrophic, are going to be good for a very long time with Doug Peterson, with Trevor Lawrence, with this nucleus of a roster, people just seem to want to be negative still. And why is that? Well, it's because there was nothing to be positive about for the past 15 years. I get it. It's hard to overcome that. It's hard to think times are good. Every time over the last 15 years, you thought the Jaguars had turned the corner, or you thought they found something, they let you down. So the fallback for Jaguar fans, at least some of you, is, well, I'm just going to pretend or that we're not good. I'm just going to keep with the status quo that I've known for the last 15 years, and I'm going to find the negative. And, oh, C.J. Stroud has a great game, so he's got to be better than Trevor Lawrence. Give me a break. We are such a what have you done lately for me society. It makes me sick, man. And I'm serious about that. C.J. Stroud, the talk of the NFL today, right? And with good reason. He was fantastic yesterday. Were we talking about C.J. Stroud last Monday? No. You know why? Because he threw for 140 yards, no touchdowns, and losing to the previously winless Carolina Panthers. It is such a week-to-week league. It is so flavor of the day, flavor of the week. It is such easy fruit to go on, social media last night, proclaim to be a Jaguar fan and say, yep, C.J. Stroud's better than Trevor Lawrence. No, he is not. Did he have a great game? You bet he did. Is he a great-looking young quarterback? Yes, he is. And they did beat Jacksonville head-to-head in Week 3. But any of you, and I do mean any of you, that would take C.J. Stroud right now over Trevor Lawrence, I hope to find myself in a fantasy football league with you someday. Or maybe in another lifetime, you and I can be rivals in a NFL scenario, because I would like my chances. Doesn't always have to be negative. You can give C.J. Stroud his due. You can talk about how good he played, but not immediately go to, oh, yeah, he's better than Trevor Lawrence. Because he's not. Not by a long shot. Now, if Houston goes into Cincinnati on Sunday, beats Joe Burrow and the Bengals, that'll be an attention getter. And if they sweep Jacksonville in a couple of weeks, that'll be an attention grabber. This conversation could potentially change, but to say based on one afternoon that C.J. Stroud is better than Trevor Lawrence and you proclaim to be a Jaguar supporter, That, to me, is you being beaten down by this Jaguar franchise, loss after loss after loss for the last 15 years, that you can't help but think negatively. You've lost all train of thought about positive vibes. Because if you're not positive about the Jaguars being 6-2, winning 5 games in a row, if you're not positive about the way Trevor Lawrence has been playing and the way this team has performed over the last 5 games, then I don't know what you can be positive about moving forward. You might be without help. You might be past the point of no return. You might have post-traumatic football disorder. Hope you can snap out of it and enjoy the ride the Jaguars are putting you on and not constantly look for the negative when it comes to this franchise. So that's the Jaguar point of view. Then there's a Gator point of view. Gator big deal of the night. I'll say it until I'm blue in the face, man. You cannot fire Billy Napier after 2 years. For starters, there's no money to do it, which we will talk about with Mark Long of the Associated Press here in about 10 minutes. You're just continuing the cycle of ineptitude. Ron Zook, Urban Meyer, Will Muschamp, Jim McElwain, Dan Mullen, Billy Napier, all of those guys have been the head coach of the University of Florida in the last 20 years. 6. And now after a 22-game sample size, an 11-11 start, some of you are ready to pull the plug on Napier already. It's the definition of insanity, man. It really is. You fire Napier. I used this analogy last night, some of my buddies. Kind of like the Joker did in The Dark Knight, right? Gator fans that want to fire Billy Napier. They're like a dog chasing a car. What are they going to do when they catch the car? Well, I don't know. They just want to catch the car, right? So if you want to fire Billy Napier, okay. So you fire Billy Napier. Now what? What are you going to go do? Oh, we're going to go hire Lane Kiffin. Is this 1998? No, it's 2023. Ole Miss probably has as much money, if not more, to pay Lane Kiffin as Florida does. And I'm not so sure Ole Miss isn't a better job. Why would Lane Kiffin want to leave Oxford to come to Florida? No, I'm not saying he wouldn't do it, but I'm simply asking you, why would he? With Florida's track record of canning coaches after 2 and 3 years? Why would you want to do that? He's built a top 10 program in Oxford. He's got a solid recruiting base. He beat LSU this year. Wait and see if they beat Georgia on Saturday. I don't think they will, but imagine if they do. Florida fans, and you're not the only ones, there's a lot of big-time schools that still believe this, believe you can just fire anybody whenever you want and just hire the next big thing. Again, this is not 1998. There may have been a time where you could do that, but look at the hires Florida has made over the last 20 years. None of them worked out. You hire Ron Zook, who was a Gator assistant at one point. You hire Urban Meyer, who was the coach of Utah. You then go hire Jim McElwain, who was the coach at Colorado State. You hire Dan Mullen, who was the biggest hire of them all, coming from Mississippi State. And you hire Billy Napier from Louisiana. And why do you think you did that? Why don't you go get the Clemson coach or the Auburn coach or the name your school, the North Carolina coach? Why? Because money's about the same. With NIL and recruiting and facilities, I'm not so sure Florida is head and shoulders better than a lot of these other jobs. And now you have a track record as an administration and as a fan base of turning on your coach in the blink of an eye after 20 games and throwing him out the door. Has Billy Napier done a good job? No. I would say he's done a below average job. But the sample size right now is still too small. It's 22 games. 11-11. And if Trey Smack hits that 44-yard field goal on Saturday, We're frustrated, but now all of a sudden Florida's 6-3, 6-3 going to play LSU, who may be without Jaden Daniels on Saturday. The entire narrative changed when that field goal went wide right. I just think Florida fans, when you start running your mouth and firebillynapier.com and this, that, and the other, recruits see that. Other coaches see that. Lane Kiffin could have a lifetime contract in Oxford right now. They love the guy. And they can pay him a lot of money. Why would you ever leave that cushy job, that cushy scenario, to come to a school at Florida where you have to completely rebuild because your recruiting class will bail? And when your administration and your fan base wants coaches gone 2 and 3 years into the process.
Same reason Brian Kelly left Notre Dame and Lincoln Riley left Oklahoma. Because you get tired and you just want to try something new.
You think Lane Kiffin's tired at Ole Miss?
No, not yet. But, I mean, eventually, Ole Miss will never win a national title.
I got news for you. Florida won't either. Not for the next 15, 20 years.
If Florida gets the right guy, Florida can win a national title. Ole Miss can have the right guy, and they'll never win a national title. Never.
Okay, well, see, and I'm surprised in you because you're 25. I was talking to the older Gator crowd. So you think Florida's a better job than Ole Miss right now?
Right now, no, but if Florida gets the right guy, Florida wins a national title. Florida wins with Steve Spurrier. Florida wins with Urban Meyer.
Florida won with Steve Spurrier 28 years ago.
Yes, and he was the right guy in that
Florida's
era.
last national title came 15 years ago.
Yes.
When you had a generational quarterback in Tim Tebow.
Yes.
Since Tim Tebow left the University of Florida, what has Gator football been?
Nothing. Because they haven't had the right guy.
15 years, they've been nothing.
Okay, and Alabama has never been anything. And then they had Bear Bryant, and they had Nick Saban. Two right guys.
Okay, Alabama.
USC, they were.
You're not comparing Florida to Alabama, right?
No, I'm not. But I'm saying really good programs. When really good programs find the right guy, they win. Doesn't matter if it's USC, doesn't matter if it's Ohio State, doesn't matter if it's Miami, it doesn't matter if it's Michigan. When teams that are supposed to be good, and Ole Miss is not in this conversation. When really good programs, really good teams, like in Florida, Florida State, Alabama, you can go on with a couple others. When they get the right guy, it works.
Yeah, no.
When Texas has the right guy, it works. Mac Brown.
Well,
nothing else around it matters.
So then every coach in your logic then, every coach that's ever won a national championship in the history of college football, dating back to Bear Bryant, was the, quote, right guy. That's what you just said. You have to find the right guy.
Yes.
Well, that's easy then. You just go out and find the right guy. Unfortunately, Florida hasn't done that in 15 years.
No, they haven't. That's why they're not good.
All right, so then Oklahoma hasn't found the right guy since Bob Stoops. Texas hasn't found the right guy since Mac Brown.
Texas hasn't been good since Mac Brown, no.
So USC hasn't found the right guy since Pete Carroll.
No, Lincoln Riley might be.
So Florida State hasn't found the right guy yet since Jimbo Fisher. Was Jimbo Fisher the right guy?
He had a great quarterback.
I just think that's an interesting way to look at it. If you need to be the, quote, right guy, okay, that's great. Florida hasn't found the right guy. And why haven't they found the right guy? Because they don't know, because they don't give them enough time. Now, look,
so how much time do you need?
Well, you need more than 22 games. You need more than 22 games. I mean, that is lunacy that people want to get rid of Billy Napier right now. Lunacy. Now, a year from now, 1 year from now, if they're 5-4 again, then I think there's more of a conversation at that point, 3 years in. And I know I always use this comparison, but I think it's a fair one because it's Florida State. It's another team we cover. 22 games into Mike Norvell's tenure. Seminole fans wanted him out so quick you couldn't even believe it. Luckily, they didn't have the money to do it. They couldn't fire him. They literally did not have the money to buy him out, and they're reaping the benefits of it now. I think Florida might be in the same position. I don't think they have the money to fire Billy Napier. All the money they lost during COVID, and I don't even want to get into all this because we're going to talk about it with Mark Long, but he lays out a whole criteria of why they just may not have the money to do anything with Billy Napier. Gator fans can scream to the hills. You got to give the guy time, though. 22 games, look, I don't know what you can accomplish in 22 games. I really don't. Talk to me next year. I understand losing to Arkansas sucks. If your field goal kicker makes a 44-yard kick, you win the game. And maybe we're not having this conversation. A lot more on the Gators with Mark Long, with Bill Bender. That's coming up in just a bit. It's a Monday night edition of Hacker After Dark with Dylan Denmark, the Hacker Ryan Green with you. Jacksonville, we're glad you're with us. It's 1010XL, 92.5 FM. Mark Long coming up next.
11 men work together for one common goal. But inevitably, there is one offensive player of the game.
He is a difference maker now.
Listen for the Universal Roof and Contracting Offensive Player of the Game.
That's how you finish right there.
On 1010XL.
Some days, my active psoriatic arthritis makes it hard to get in the game. Now, the ball is in my court, thanks to treating my skin and joints with Skyrizi, Risankizumab Rizin, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults. Skyrizi helps with less joint pain, stiffness, swelling, and fatigue. For those who also have plaque psoriasis, 90% clearer skin is possible with just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
With Skyrizi, there's nothing like clearer skin and better movement, and that means everything. Ask your doctor today about Skyrizi and visit Skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
Visionaries, builders, and doers, are you ready to change the world? Miller Electric is your opportunity to shape the future. Miller Electric is leading the charge in electric vehicle technology with our state-of-the-art EV Innovation Design Center. We're working to create a sustainable future. We're also the proud partners of the Jacksonville Jaguars, powering their performance at the brand new Miller Electric Center. Miller Electric, we provide competitive pay, unbeatable benefits. Apply today. MillerCareers.com. Miller Electric, an equal opportunity employer.
Are you ready for the ultimate happy hour experience? Look no further than Bellwether, downtown's undisputed champion of good times. It's Tuesday through Saturday from 4 to 7 p, with the exception on Friday when happy hour starts at 11 a.m. Rally the team and head over to Bellwether. The vibe is full and the food is unbeatable. Free parking after 6 p on weekdays and all weekend. Bellwether Restaurant, where great food and the best happy hour in town come together for an epic win.
The year is almost over. Do you need cash for the holidays or want to be credit card debt-free for the new year? Call Loan Pronto today. Their Express Equity line of credit can get you $20,000, $50,000, $100,000 in as little as 5 days. Listen, if you have a ton of equity in your house and Loan Pronto can help you turn that equity into cash, you can access up to 95% of your home's value. Use the money to pay off all your credit cards, pay off personal loans, or start that home improvement project. You can get the money you need now and still keep your primary mortgage intact. So your 3% rate, it's protected. And with Loan Pronto's Express Equity Line program, 90% of the time, there's no need for an appraisal. So you can get your money super fast. Get the holiday cash you need or pay off all those credit cards before the new year. Get yourself on solid financial footing before the year ends and call Loan Pronto now. 904-999-1508, 904-999-1508 or loanpronto.com. Equal Housing Lender, NLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
This date in sports history is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On November 6, 1869, the first intercollegiate football game took place. Players used their hands or feet as Rutgers beat Princeton 6-4.
Hi, this is Dave Barker. Multi-unit hair grafting is now available at IHRS and can give you 3 times more hair in one procedure over a traditional hair transplant.
Multi-unit hair grafting gave me more hair in one procedure and within my budget.
You can grow your hair back with this exclusive new procedure. Call for a free evaluation. Call IHRS 904-777-IHRS 777-IHRS 777-4477.
It's See Better, Drive Safer month at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Replace your worn-out wiper blades and get up to a $20 O'Reilly gift card after rebate when you purchase a pair of select wiper blades. See store for details. Our professional parts people will even install your new wiper blades for free. Stop by your O'Reilly Auto Parts store or O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Here's another remarkable success story from QC Kinetics. This one from Chad, who hurt his knee at the gym one day, and it just kept on hurting for months.
From my high school football and wrestling days, I already had a little bit of damage in there, but this just sent it over the edge.
Chad tried traditional treatments with no improvement when he turned to the non-surgical regenerative treatments at QC Kinetics.
It was really fascinating how they did their work, and the science behind it was very intriguing, and it works. Extracting the cure out of my own body blew my mind. It's like I'm brand new again. It was fantastic.
That's because the QC Kinetics natural biologic treatments use your body's own healing power to restore damaged tissue in your hips, shoulders, back, and knees, providing long-lasting relief.
Now I'm back at the gym. I'm 100% feeling great.
If you're tired of suffering with pain from arthritis or injury, call QC Kinetics now for a free consultation.
Call QC Kinetics, 904-274-5522. That's 904-274-5522. 904-274-5522.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Let's ring up another guest on the All-Pro Roofing phone line.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. It is a Monday evening, and we are glad you are with us. Boy, there's a ton going on. The Jaguars host the San Francisco 49ers on Sunday. We'll get to that in a moment. Florida losing in overtime to a previously winless in the SEC Arkansas team, and the natives are restless in Gainesville. Let's talk about all of it with a man that covers both the Florida Gators and the Jacksonville Jaguars, my friend Mark Long of the Associated Press, always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Mark, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing well, Hacker. How are you?
Mark, we're good. I know it's been a busy day for you. Thank you for the time. And let's begin with the Gators, Mark. Natives are restless. Obviously, you know that. You follow social media on the weekends. Boy, they were fired up after losing that game to Arkansas. Your thoughts on the Gator program and kind of where it stands right now with 3 games left in the year?
Yeah, lots of questions, right? Starting with Billy Napier. Is he the right guy for the job? I don't know that he is. I don't know that he's proven that he is. I don't know that he's shown any progress, any tangible progress that you can hang your hat on and say, yeah, this guy's getting it done. Certainly the recruiting is the one aspect where you go, okay, maybe they're going to be a top 5 class. Maybe that's the way, stacking classes, adding talent, that's the way to get it done. But I also am hearing that the recruiting class is going to take a dip here, that there are guys who are either have decided to go elsewhere or are thinking about going elsewhere. So we'll see if he can keep that class together over the next month. And then the other thing is, does he have the right people around him? Obviously, the decision to not have a special teams coordinator is looking like a bad one. Not having an offensive coordinator certainly looks like a questionable one. 2 offensive line coaches, a 30-year-old defensive coordinator with no, real SEC experience. All these kind of, you throw them all together and you're going, is Billy the right guy? Is he making the right calls? Does he have the right people around him? So that's where it starts for me. Forget everything else. I mean, we said from day one this season that Graham Mertz was a placeholder quarterback for DJ Lagway. Everybody knew that. And so, could you really gauge and trust and really maybe look at this program in year 2 and think, okay, this is the finished product? It's not, right? Everybody knew that this was a rebuild, a lengthy rebuild, but I'm not sure Billy's going to get the time to make this thing happen in 4 or 5 years. I just don't know if that's the case. It really looks like the time frame for him to show something, get something going, has sped up. And I don't know we're not going to see that this year, but I certainly think next year all of a sudden becomes critical for Billy Napier.
Mark, 11-11 through 22 games. I mean, clearly that's not what Gator fans want to see. My argument is, look, I think at absolute minimum he needs 3 years on the field. You could argue more than that, but I'll at least settle for 3. The rotation of coaches out of Gainesville, they've had 6 in 20 years. I mean, couldn't you make the argument, Mark, the reason they are where they are right now is because they don't give coaches any time to get their act together down there?
That's part of it, no question about it. And it's a fickle kind of spoiled fan base that, is quick to rush to judgment. And if you listen to Scott Strickland, he'll say it's broken and it needs to get fixed, and it needs to get fixed right. And he thinks Billy Napier's the guy who can fix it and fix it properly and build a program from the ground up the right way, sustainable way to make it work. And he might be right, but the natives are restless, as you pointed out. The money's got to come from somewhere. If people start look at this and they lose faith in Strickland, they lose faith in Billy Napier, which is happening. It's happening every single week. And 3 more weeks to go in the regular season. If the Gators lose all 3 or maybe even get blown out in all 3, they're going to be double-digit underdogs in all 3. Then what? And once the money runs out or dries up or even just reduces a little bit, I wonder how manageable the situation would be. And, with that said, I think that would be the ideal case, to give Billy Napier time and see what he can do. 5 years was always the thought inside the building, that Billy Napier would be able to show something in 2025. But again, I just don't know how plausible that is, how realistic that is now when you're talking about 11-11 after 22 games with some iconic losses, when you're looking at Vanderbilt, winless Arkansas, and then Kentucky at home that hadn't happened since 1986. All of those, are questionable at best and really put a big asterisk and a big spotlight on his tenure.
Mark Long of the Associated Press. Mark, to me, and look, you cover it. You're down there every day in Gainesville. You're at all the press conferences. I mean, you were locked into that Gator program. To me, this isn't 1998 anymore. Like, when I'm talking to fans on social media and they say, oh, let's just fire Billy Napier and go hire Lane Kiffin. I mean, why would Lane Kiffin leave what he's built in Oxford, which, by the way, Ole Miss can pay him probably as much as Florida can in today's day and age? Why would they do that? I mean, this isn't where Florida can just fire somebody and shoot fish in a barrel and hire whoever they want. To me, Gator fans that want to fire Napier, they're like dogs that are chasing cars, okay? If you catch it, fantastic. But then what are you going to do, right? If you fire Napier, okay, well, you're happy. But then what? You got to actually hire somebody, and I just don't think Florida right now, with the reputation of firing coaches every 2 or 3 years, is going to be on the top of a lot of lists for people to want to work for.
Yeah, that's obviously an issue. That would be, this place has churned out coaches. But with that said, we've seen similar issues at Auburn. It didn't stop Auburn from getting what looks to be like a pretty legitimate head coach who's going to turn things around. So I would think that if Florida went that direction, and again, the money's got to be there. I'm a big believer that you can always find the money, and 1 or 2 or 3 boosters can always find the money. I'm not so sure. I think there are people in Gainesville I'm hearing from who feel tapped out. Like, listen, we've done a lot to recover from the Jaden Rashada. We've done a lot to get the NIL up and running, to kind of compete with Georgia and Alabama off the field in the NIL, in that space. And so I don't know that there's anybody sitting there eager to pay out $32 million to buy out Billy Napier. Let's not forget, Hack, that it was just a few years ago, 2020, the University of Florida, they lost $54 million in the athletic program because of COVID. So they recouped a little bit of that back, but that's a hole. And then you look at the following year, they're building a baseball stadium. They're building a standalone football facility. They have spent a lot of money, tapped into a lot of resources to kind of catch up, so to speak, in the conference from a facility standpoint, and then try to make up that. And then let's not forget, they just paid Dan Mullen and his staff a huge buyout. So when you talk about 20-something million to Dan Mullen and his staff, 54 million loss in 2020, buying out Dan in 2021 and his staff, and then the facilities that you've built, it's a pretty big nut that they've spent in the last few years here. So I'm not sure anybody over there, whether you're talking about the new school president AD Scott Strickland or anybody else is really eager to see another 30 million plus committed to getting rid of a coach. And then you got to go pay a coach where, by the way, even though everything in the world has gone up in value, so have coaching salaries. So, you go get a guy, you're paying Napier 7.2, you might have to pay the next guy 8 to walk in through the door. So I don't think that there's going to be some rush to change and try to make this thing better. I really do believe, even if Lane Kiffin wanted the job, I don't know that there's going to be a rush. I do think this is the time where you got to have conviction if you're Scott Strickland. If you got to have conviction if you're the people who signed off on this hire previously, you better be convicted. You better be sold on Billy Napier. You better be able to withstand what we're going through right now, which is obviously some pretty rough seas.
Final moments with Mark Long of the Associated Press. Mark, I want to end with the Jaguars' final Gator topic. You alluded to it earlier. If Florida loses to LSU, Missouri, and Florida State by double digits in all 3 games, let's say it ends at 5-7, is there any scenario that Billy Napier doesn't return in 2024, in your opinion?
I don't think so, but I'll always say, Hack, that there's always a path. There is a path to getting rid of Billy Napier, and the path would, in my opinion, would be someone with the $30 million stepping up and saying, I want this guy gone. I want him gone now, and I'm willing to fund it. And then having some people in positions of authority kind of agreeing. And, I don't think you can look at the product right now and not have questions about Billy Napier. I'm not sure Scott Strickland has questions, but everybody else, I think it's pretty obvious and evident that, to have questions right now. I will say this, one last thing. You look at these programs that, seem to be on a fast track. USC last year, Duke earlier this year, LSU last year, and even TCU last year, right? All with first-year coaches, all got fast-tracked. Well, now they've kind of come back to reality. So let's not pretend like all these guys who looked good a year ago have it figured out in year 2. They've all taken a little bit of a step back in some degree. And, that's what I would say is a positive for Billy Napier and this staff is they really do believe that they are building this thing as a kind of a tear down. They had to tear it down. They had to get it down to the studs to rebuild it and rebuild it properly, more in a sustainable manner. And that's what they're doing. And Billy's even said it the other night. He's like, listen, we knew we were going to be in this kind of position. We knew we were going to have growing pains, and we're right in the middle of it.
Yeah, the interesting thing for Saturday in Baton Rouge, we don't know the status of LSU quarterback Jaden Daniels, who left the Alabama game with a concussion, so we'll see what happens when Florida travels to LSU. Mark, let's wrap it up with the Jaguars. They're fresh off their bye week. Boy, an interesting game on Sunday as a very wounded San Francisco 49er team rolls in here, losers of 3 games in a row. Mark, they got to control home field, the Jaguars. They're undefeated outside of Duval County, yet they're 1-2 inside Everbank Stadium. And with games against the 49ers, Titans, Ravens, and Bengals coming up, boy, you got to defend home field. That's vital for the Jaguars.
Yeah, 4 of the next 6 are at home. That's huge. It's an opportunity for them to really take a command, a sizable command in the division, right? If they were to just even maintain home field advantage and go 4-2 in these next 6, all of a sudden they would, set themselves up for a nice high seed, I think, down the stretch here. So that's huge, absolutely huge for them. They've got to play better at home, right? They got to continue with the takeaways, start limiting the turnovers, get better in the red zone, get better on third down, get better in the third quarter. There's a lot of things that this team can do better, and that's kind of if you're the Jags, you're sitting here going, hey, we're 6-2, and we haven't played anywhere near our best football. We've had issues on the defensive side of the ball despite the takeaways. We've had issues on offense galore, and we think we can really put this thing together down the stretch, get healthy, get everybody in place, and do something special here. I will say this about home field advantage. The Jags have won 6 of their last 7 as home underdogs, straight up as home underdogs, and they are dogs, 2.5-point dogs, I think, to San Francisco right now.
Yeah, I was surprised when I saw that because the Niners, like we said, have come in on a 3-game losing streak. They're coming off a bye as well. Mark, Doug Peterson talked earlier today. The Zay Jones thing is beginning to get worrisome, right? I mean, we don't have clarity exactly as to what the situation is there, but for him to continue to be day-to-day, and he's missed, basically a month's worth of time, and Doug Peterson didn't exactly say that IR was out of the question. I mean, what's your thought on the whole Zay Jones injury situation?
Yeah, it was a situation. It's a knee injury that they thought would get better. They looked at it, and then it didn't get any better. So it got to the point where it really got worse, and Zay Jones went and got a second opinion. The team approved him to go get a second opinion, and apparently I've heard that it sounded like favorable and that he would be back after the bye. So I can't tell if today was Doug being coy, which he tends to be a little bit when it comes to injuries. Was Doug being coy and not wanting to give the 49ers any hint earlier in the week as to what's going to happen on Sunday? Or was he being, an honest assessment here of a player who for whatever reason, his knee's not responding like it's supposed to? So there's a little bit of cat and mouse here. I don't know what's going on, to be honest. I think the telltale sign will be Wednesday. Is Zay Jones on the field and practicing? And if he is, then I would think he plays on Sunday against San Francisco.
Mark Long of the Associated Press. Mark, final question. Jaguars were cooking, man. 5-game winning streak heading into the bye. Any concern for you that the bye week might stall some of that momentum?
No. In fact, I actually think the bye week was perfectly timed for them because of the injury standpoint. And I know they've had a little more time off than Doug Peterson would like this time of year, and that's a little bit tough to maybe restart. But you look at this team, and, they've just been so resilient over these last 2 years under Doug. I don't expect anything less. I actually expect them, now that they're getting the offensive line a little more settled. Walker Little's supposed to be back. He's going to be your starting left guard. You're going to have that unit intact for the first time, really, in a few weeks, and maybe healthier than they've been all year, and Cam's up to speed at left tackle. So if you get that figured out, I think that's when this offense takes off, especially with Zay Jones in the mix. That's what I'm looking for. I think defensively they're going to be fine. They're going to continue doing what they're going to do. I don't know if the takeaways are going to continue. They might dry up a little bit. But the big difference for me is I just see this offense kind of getting into gear and doing the things we saw it do late last season.
Mark Long of the Associated Press. Mark, I know it's been a very busy day for you. Thank you for taking time out for us this evening, brother. I'll see you down there in the Jaguar locker room on Wednesday.
Sounds good. Thanks, Hack.
1. Frangie and Hicken on Mondays. 2. Denny Thompson and Hacker on Wednesdays.
Who's counting?
1010XL now has 2 original Gator podcasts each week.
One for you, one for me.
Search 1010XL Florida Gators wherever you find podcasts or visit 1010XL.com.
If you're looking for exterior solutions that provide you reliability and durability, it's time to call Armor Guard Exteriors. Whether you need seamless gutters or gutter protection, hurricane products, impact windows, glass lanais, or retractable awnings and screens, we've got you covered. Call My Home Team today for your 5-star experience at 904-906-8669.
Armor Guard Exteriors, committed to quality, and that's a promise.
Hey sports fans, it's Hayes Carline for QC Kinetics. Look, are you sick and tired of living with that constant pain in your knees and back? Joint pain doesn't just keep you from doing what you love, it affects your job, your relationships, even simple things like getting dressed. It's time to call QC Kinetics. They've got 2 great locations here, Mandarin and Ponte Vedra. And look, you can get in. They have appointments available right now. This week, call them at 904-274-5522. You got to give them a chance. Hips, shoulders, elbows, they can treat everything with natural biologics from your own body. Powerful healing agents, highly concentrated. If you're tired of steroid shots that don't work, or if you're trying to avoid surgery, call QC Kinetics now to schedule your free consultation Learn more about these exciting new cutting-edge treatments. Again, 904-274-5522. That's QC Kinetics.
At ABBQ, they are turning up the heat on game day with a spread that'll make your taste buds do a victory dance. Football and barbecue always play together. I'm talking mouth-watering wings, juicy burgers, and tantalizing appetizers that'll keep your hunger in check as you cheer for your team. Come for the food and football, and stay for the teal-colored Jell-O shots. Your destination for mouth-watering barbecue and an unforgettable game day. ABBQ. Meet and drink with us.
Hey, hun, water is coming out of the bottom of the kitchen faucet instead of the top.
The bottom of the faucet?
Yeah.
Do you mean the faucet is leaking?
Well, yeah, that's another way to put it.
I think we should call Duck Duck Rooter.
Duck Duck Rooter. However you describe your plumbing problem, we have your solution. Duck Duck Rooter. Proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
904-862-6769. He used to cover the Jags. Now he's a CBS Sports senior NFL writer.
Well, I believe you got everybody's attention.
He's Pete Prisco. Friday afternoons on The Frangie Show. Brought to you by Showtime Sports Cards and Collectibles on 1010XL. Post Game Monday on 1010XL is brought to you by Dandy Foods, makers of quality fresh sandwiches and home of the good stuff.
Hey, Jacksonville, I'm sure by now you've seen our bright green GFL trucks and containers throughout the greater Jacksonville area. We are an industry leader in solid waste and would love the opportunity to earn your business. We are committed to customer service, reliability, and have unwavering focus on safety. Whether commercial or construction, let us haul your waste away. Call 904-760-5880 to get a quote today. GFL, green for life.
Hacker here, and look, football season is in full swing, and no game day setup is complete without the Sausage Dude sausage. I'm a sausage guy, and the Sausage Dude sausage is the best sausage I've ever had. Try their 4 terrific flavors, including Polish, Hungarian, beer bratwurst with jalapeno, and my personal favorite, the Italian today, by picking them up at any Publix in the Jacksonville area. Football and sausage, it's a winning combination. Go get the Sausage Dude sausage at any Publix in the Jacksonville area right now.
At the First Coast YMCA, you'll find much more than just a gym. We offer many ways to help you be active, reach weight loss goals, and find your inner strength while you connect with your community. Family memberships at the Y include unlimited group exercise classes, childcare while you work out, and youth sports participation. It's easy to join the Y and affordable for all. Plus, the Y is a great place to meet a new circle of friends. Visit the Y near you or online at fcymca.org.
Allentown Mortgage gives you both a fast online application process and an expert mortgage advisor to get you the best mortgage at the most competitive rate in the nation. You can be a number at a big box bank and spend weeks filling out paperwork, or call Allentown Mortgage. Eric summed it up in his 5-star Google review. Allentown knows the mortgage industry. When the big boxes say no, they say yes. The whole process went very smoothly. Get the mortgage experience you want. Go to allentownmortgage.com. That's allentownmortgage.com. NMLS number 103917, 4810 Executive Park, Jacksonville.
Hicken here with Zero Res. Let them help you get ready for the holiday. Book today, and Zero Res will clean your carpets for only $49 a room. Let's give you 25% off your tile and grout cleaning. Zero Res, man. Spell it forwards or backwards. It's the right way to clean.
Zero Res. Find the middle of the fairway with your drives. Get the golf tips and talk to keep you straight.
That's a great tee shot.
On the Edwin Watts Golf Hour. The Edwin Watts Golf Hour. Saturday morning at 10 on 1010XL. 1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Week 9 of the National Football League wrapping up tonight. Monday Night Football. Chargers on top of the Jets, 7-0. A punt return touchdown for LA gave them the lead. Less than 3 minutes to go in the first quarter. Chargers have the ball in the Jets' red zone. Zach Wilson fumbled it moments ago. Chargers looking to go up 2 scores. Again, they lead the Jets 7-0. Nearing the end of the first quarter. Watched a lot of the red zone yesterday. with the Jaguars on a bye week, here are my thoughts. Kansas City is still very good. Kansas City wins. They beat Miami to go to 7-2. They now own tiebreakers over Jacksonville and Miami. Tough schedule for the Chiefs. Still have Cincinnati, still have Philadelphia. For what it's worth, they still have Buffalo. A Charger game mixed in as well, but it's all right in front of Kansas City again for potential home field. How about Baltimore? For the second time in 3 weeks, the Ravens absolutely destroy one of the better teams from the NFC. 3 weeks ago, they destroyed Detroit. Yesterday, Seattle, who entered that game at 5-2, did not look like they belonged on the same field. You know, people may not be taking Jacksonville seriously. I'm not sure if people are taking Baltimore as serious as you need to. They are good. They're really good, and they're 7-2 right now. Remember, they come to Everbank Stadium Sunday Night Football in the month of December. Joshua Dobbs. What a story. Remember last year he started for the Tennessee Titans like a week after they brought him in, played the AFC South Championship game here. Darn near led Tennessee to victory. Minnesota trades for him on Tuesday because of Kirk Cousins' injury. Their starting quarterback goes down yesterday with a concussion. So in comes Josh Dobbs. He had been in Minneapolis for 4 days, did not know all of his teammates' names, and in fact was taking snaps with the offensive line on the sideline because they had never heard his cadence under center. And he comes in there and he leads them to a victory over the Atlanta Falcons. As impressive a quarterbacking performance as you will ever see in the NFL under the circumstances. I don't know what Josh Dobbs in Minnesota will do moving forward, but I know that was pretty incredible yesterday in Atlanta, Georgia. Cleveland beat the junior varsity of the NFL, the Arizona Cardinals. Arizona, by far and away, the worst team in football. They're going to put Kyler Murray out there on Sunday, reportedly at 1-8. Why are they doing that? I'm not really sure, but they are. They are awful. Cleveland beat Arizona 27-0. Green Bay over the Rams 20-3. You feel for Aaron Donald. They just have nothing in LA. They have Aaron Donald, they got Nagua, and they got Cooper Kupp, and that's about it. Not a lot of talent. Green Bay wins it 20-3. How about the Commanders yesterday? A couple of days after trading both Montez Sweat and Chase Young, Washington goes into New England and beats the Patriots. Patriots are probably the worst team in the AFC. And I don't know if you guys saw this yesterday. Probably the most egregious roughing the passer penalty that I've ever seen a referee call, and I mean that. Denmark, did you see this yesterday?
What was this?
The roughing the passer on Washington against New England?
No, I did not see it.
It was a sack. It was KJ Henry, the former Clemson Tiger, sacked Mac Jones. He sacked him. Mac Jones had the ball. It was a sack. No helmet to helmet. None of that. Personal foul, roughing the passer. The National Football League can be hypocritical at times, man. Oh, it's all about player safety. Well, okay. Why do you make players play on Sunday and then turn around and play on Thursday if it's about player safety? They're hypocrites. It's about protecting the quarterback and letting the offenses thrive because that's what people want to watch. If they would come out and say that, I would appreciate it more. Roughing the passers, not even be able to touch the quarterback in today's day and age, it's tiresome, man. It hurts the product. And yesterday was egregious by the officials in that Washington-New England game. New Orleans has won 2 in a row since Jacksonville beat them. Saints over the Bears, 24-17. C.J. Stroud, we talked about it earlier, great performance. You wonder if reality sets in for Houston this week. They go to Cincinnati, but a great win for the Texans. Indianapolis a win. How you feeling in Carolina? You trade up to the number 1 pick in the draft, you give away a ton, and you probably drafted the wrong guy. C.J. Stroud is better than Bryce Young. There's no doubt about that. Bryce Young, 2 pick sixes yesterday. The Colts safety, Kenny Moore. Raiders 30-6 over the Giants. Giants are done. They need to lose as many games as they can to get as high a draft pick as they can. They're terrible. Philadelphia in a great game over Dallas. Philadelphia controls the NFC East. And Cincinnati beats Buffalo. Buffalo is getting very close to falling out of the ranks of being a contender in the AFC. They're 5-4, already lost to Jacksonville, and now Cincinnati. Buffalo's hanging on by a thread to still be considered a contender. Cincinnati's looking good, as they've now won a few games in a row. We'll go from the NFL to college. My friend Bill Bender of the Sporting News. Let's talk Florida LSU. Let's talk Ole Miss Georgia. And that's right, let's talk Florida State Miami. What a Saturday it's going to be. Bill Bender, national college football writer, Sporting News. Next on Hacker After Dark.
John Osher stars as O in Oh Knows.
Yeah.
Wednesdays from 10 to noon on Jaguars Today. Johnny O knows the Jags like nobody else. Brought to you by Kingfish Pest Control, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Here's Linda Beaver.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's finally here. Beaver's annual Black Friday silent sale. Every car on the lot will be discounted so low, we can't even show the prices on TV. Doors open at 6 a.m. Friday. First come, first served. And once they're gone, it's over. Plus, anyone who buys between 6 and 9 a.m. will get a big screen TV and $1,000 cash. Want more? We're giving away free oil changes between 6 and 9 a.m. The Black Friday silent sale only at Beaver Toyota and Beaver Chevrolet. You don't want to miss this.
Hey, it's Matt Hayes. Want even more excitement on game day? Then test your skills at Prize Picks, the best way to win big on fantasy sports. Just select 2 or more players, pick their projection for a wide variety of statistics, and place your entry. Simple. You can turn $10 into $250 just like that. I've got Kevin Durant scoring less than 31.5 points against San Antonio, and Tua Tagovailoa passing for less than 286.5 yards against Kansas City. Now listen to this. Prize Picks is the only daily fantasy platform with an injury insurance policy, keeping you in the game even if one of your players goes down. Sweat it out. Watch your entries in real time and continue the fun by making picks on second half and fourth quarter stats. Take your game day experience to the next level with Prize Picks. And right now, when you go to prizepicks.com/1010XL and use the promo code 1010XL, Prize Picks will match your first deposit up to $100. That's right, $100. Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy.
Men suffering from erectile dysfunction or PE, frustrated taking pills that don't work. Here's a message from Prime Men's Medical Center.
I'm Dr. Simovitz. Prime Men's Medical Center offers breakthrough treatments with men lasting longer than ever without pain or surgery.
Call now. Your consultation and first treatment are free. You'll see instant results right in the office. Call Prime Men's Medical Center now. 904-664-8217. That's 904-664-8217.
The flagship station of the Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
The year is almost over. Do you need cash for the holidays or want to be credit card debt-free for the new year? Call Loan Pronto today. Their Express Equity line of credit can get you $20,000, $50,000, $100,000 in as little as 5 days. Listen. If you have a ton of equity in your house, and Loan Pronto can help you turn that equity into cash, you can access up to 95% of your home's value. Use the money to pay off all your credit cards, pay off personal loans, or start that home improvement project. You can get the money you need now and still keep your primary mortgage intact. So your 3% rate, it's protected. And with Loan Pronto's Express Equity Line program, 90% of the time, there's no need for an appraisal. So you can get your money super fast. Get the holiday cash you need or pay off all those credit cards before the new year. Get yourself on solid financial footing before the year ends and call Loan Pronto now. 904-999-1508, 904-999-1508 or loanpronto.com. Equal Housing Lender, NMLS 166178, subject to lender approval.
So I'm here with Danny Van Sickle, Director of the Electrical Training Alliance. Danny, tell me about your program.
Hey, Rick, we're a 5-year electrical apprenticeship. Our students start out making over $30,000 a year and right now graduate making over $80,000 a year, including benefits. There is no tuition and no student debt. You just have to apply and get accepted.
Did you say no tuition and no student debt?
You heard that right, Rick. Once you're accepted into the program, your only costs are the books and the course fees, around $700 a year.
Wow, that sounds like an amazing opportunity. How can I learn more?
Just go to etajax.org and you can apply there.
Apply by May 23rd.
Pastor Joby Martin here with the Church of 1122. We are honored once again to partner with the Boys and Girls Club of Northeast Florida for the Great Futures Weekend, which includes golf and Mackenzie's 5K run at the esteemed TPC Stadium course. Help us continue to honor Mackenzie Wilson's legacy. That's Friday and Saturday, November 17th and 18th. You can golf or you can run. It'll be a great time. Additional info at MackenzieRun.org. Proceeds go to the Boys and Girls Clubs of Northeast Florida.
1010XL is a proud sponsor of Operation Uniform's 10th Annual Heroes Gala, featuring retired Army Lieutenant Colonel and former Congressman Alan West. Saturday, December 2nd at Sawgrass Marriott. Operation Uniform is a free, life-changing program that helped me and David Trenholm successfully transition from a 20-year career in the United States Navy to the business world. Join 1010XL and sponsor Operation Uniform's 10th Annual Heroes Gala today. Go to onuvets.org. That's onuvets.org today.
Hey, it's Mike Dempsey, and you know how I feel about Pella Windows and Doors. Great design, strongest warranties, and the highest quality products. I even chose Pella Windows for my own home. And whether you're a homeowner replacing windows or building a new home or a trade professional working with clients, I know the design experts at Pella will help your project run smoothly and look great. Visit PellaJax.com or the Pella showroom on Phillips Highway. That's Pella Windows and Doors.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Let's ring up another guest on the All-Pro Roofing phone line.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. Boy, a big weekend of college football. Ole Miss and Georgia in Athens. That should be a good one. You got Florida State and Miami there at Doak Campbell Stadium in Tallahassee. And you got Florida and LSU on the SEC Network, 7:30 Saturday night. We'll talk about all of that with my friend Bill Bender of the Sporting News. He's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Bill, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, Bill, always appreciate it. All right, man, the natives are restless. People are mad. They're frustrated. Florida losing to Arkansas in overtime. Bill, talk to Gator fans here in Jacksonville because they are not happy right now.
Well, I mean, it's emotional letdown of sorts after the Arkansas game. And, you know, you're catching a team on an emotional letdown, and we don't know what Jaden Daniels' status will be. I think that Florida-LSU game is typically close anyway. With the exception of one time, I think in the last 10 years, it's been a one-score game. Always hurts to lose, obviously, always hurts to lose when you get in one of those weird games that gets into the 30s. But I do think there's been some growth for Florida. And with the exception of Saturday, losses aren't like horrible teams, right? They've been okay.
The interesting thing, Bill, and this is what Gator fans are telling me, so let me ask you. 11-11 in 22 games. And the same problems, right? Special teams, you know, missed kicks, blocked kicks, having two guys wearing the same jersey number on the field. Just inexplicable things that continue to happen. I don't know if Gator fans would be as mad if the losses were not without the embarrassing moments, but those embarrassing moments continue to happen, and I think that's adding to the frustration they're having with Billy Napier.
Which is totally fair when you have blunders like that. I know you and I think last time we talked, it was around the Utah loss, and you had things happen there. Georgia was just better, and that's a reality right now. And then this week, obviously, you don't want to lose. That's one you shouldn't have lost. But I still think, you know, the Tennessee victory looks better now. There's a couple opportunities down the road here to play spoiler. I think the Florida State game could be a lot of fun. But it's year two, and I totally understand that. So my question back to the Gators fans would be, okay, you want to move on from Billy Napier, then what do you want? I mean, I don't see like a coaching candidate out there where I'm like, we have to move heaven and earth to move a second-year coach out of his contract and go get this guy.
Well, and my thing, too, again, Bill Bender of the Sporting News, and you tell me you cover it on a national basis, so maybe I'm speaking out of turn here. This is not 1998 anymore. I love Gator fans that come at me on social media and say, well, you can fire Napier and go hire anybody you want. On what planet are you going to go hire, quote, anybody that you want? The name that we always hear is Lane Kiffin. I would be stunned if Lane Kiffin left Oxford and what he's built out there to come to Florida where they recycle coaches every 2.5 years.
Right, and the expectations would be through the roof. That said, Lane Kiffin in Gainesville would be so interesting to me and so intriguing because I'll put it to you this way. Look at what they've done at Ole Miss this year. They're probably the least talked, for as much as we talk about Kiffin, they're probably the least talked about 8-1 team in the country heading into this weekend's game against Georgia. Obviously, the spotlight, the money, the resources, all of those things at Florida would be a little bit more, which makes him such an intriguing candidate if that were to happen.
And look, I don't think anybody's saying Napier's gone. I certainly don't believe that. That leads me back to the argument that I had this weekend. They've had 6 head coaches in 20 years since Spurrier's departure in 2002. You can't do that, right? Isn't that why Florida's in the shape they're in now? Because they keep recycling coaches, which means the recruiting buildup that they're getting is completely evaporated when you bring in a new staff and a new coach.
Yes, I agree. You can't press. It's not a Nintendo. I just used a Nintendo reference on the air. I'm sure a lot of your listeners will get that one. You can't press reset every 3 years. You just can't because you're bringing in a new coach. You do that. And I think every coach deserves 5 years. Not deserves is probably the wrong word. But if you're not willing to give them the 5-year process, you're not going to see what they can do. And that maybe you could cut that down to 4 or 3 with the transfer portal and NIL and those kind of things. But it depends on what kind of mess you're inheriting. This example, and I know what's going on at Michigan now, but it didn't happen for Jim Harbaugh overnight. They had to reinvent things. Now you could say, well, they did this the last 3 years, but point being, they haven't really hit their stride since year 5 or 6. Dabo's another great example.
You know, with all that being said, Florida does have 3 very hard games to end the year. At LSU, at Missouri, and then Florida State. They're going to be an underdog in each. If we assume, Bill, that they lose all 3 of these games, finish 5-7, do not go to a bowl game, is Napier in trouble entering year 3?
Probably. I think the patience will run thin. I think there's a lot of things you'll have to deliver at that point. But, you know, what does that mean? Does it mean you finishing second in the SEC East? Does it mean catching Georgia? Is that the expectation? It probably shouldn't be at this point. But I would, if I were a Florida fan, I would be annoyed with the fact that, hey, Mizzou's pretty good. By the way, they were calling for Eli Drinkwitz's head a few months ago. Tennessee's found something with Josh Heupel, and there's been inconsistency, but they're going to be around. Kentucky is what it is. Probably going to be a solid program. So I think you need some stability at Florida. There's nothing wrong with some stability. And then if you want to take that next chance, perhaps that's the guy. I mean, I keep saying this. Mike Norvell's a great example. Florida State stuck with him, and look where they're at now.
Yeah, they're reaping the benefits of that. And, of course, Florida, great recruiting class that Billy Napier has put together. They have not had any decommitments yet, and we are 1 month away, 1 month and change away from the first signing day down there in Gainesville. Quickly to LSU on Saturday, Bill. Assuming Jaden Daniels plays, and again, the time you and I are talking, he's questionable. We don't know his availability. If he plays, you got to like LSU. If he doesn't play, that kind of puts Saturday night in question, does it not?
It does. I think they're still going to get up and down either way. Like I said, I think 9 of the last 10 meetings have been one-score games, 10 points or less even. So, yeah, it's going to be one of those games between these two. I think LSU, you know, there'll be a little bit of an emotional hangover. They just lost to Alabama. There's no shot of any kind to get to the playoff with 3 losses. There's no shot probably to get to the SEC championship game. So this is an opportunity for Florida to come into that game motivated and play and make it a close game. On the road, not going to be easy, but always a fun SEC rivalry, and I look for it to be one of the more entertaining games of the weekend, despite the fact that the stakes aren't maybe what either program wanted.
Bill Bender of the Sporting News does a terrific job covering college football on a national basis. He's with us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. That takes us to Tallahassee, and before we get there, let's talk about the Miami Hurricanes, who are making the trip to the state capitol. Billy Napier's 11-11. Mario Cristobal's 11-10. I mean, you could basically say the same thing, right? He's not so far living up to what Miami fans had hoped for.
No, and there's also been some inconsistencies at Miami. Obviously had one of the more embarrassing moments of the season against Georgia Tech. Now they come back from that, win a couple games, then they lose to NC State. So I think inconsistent would be how I would phrase this team. And yes, they're going into a rivalry game that I grew up with and you grew up with, and we know how great that Miami-Florida State game used to be. Now they're forced to play spoiler. So we'll see how that goes. I think, again, it's second year, so it's probably you could almost record my answers about Florida and say the same things about Mario, but with the added layer of that Georgia Tech game changed the tenor of this season.
Is Miami the biggest roadblock for Florida State in reaching the college football playoff?
I think Louisville will be at the end of the road, because I think Louisville has found something with Jeff Braun. They've been able to run the football. They've been able to use the transfer portal and this was talked about in the summer. Who was this year's TCU? Well, in some ways it's been Louisville, because they're one of 11 Power 5 teams with one loss or less. They've been able to run the football, and I think they'll be 11-1 at the end of the year, maybe 10-2 with a loss to Kentucky. I think they're the toughest game remaining on the schedule. I do think Florida State will beat Miami. I think they'll beat Florida. I believe they got North Alabama tucked in there somehow, and they'll get to 12-0. That said, Florida State probably has the least room for loss, given the pileup of one-loss teams and the fact that Washington keeps winning in the Pac-12 and is going to be sitting there at number 5.
Bill Bender of the Sporting News. It's interesting you say that. With the first rankings came out last week, and when Florida State was at 4 behind Michigan and Georgia, and you could argue Florida State's got a better resume than both of them. I think clearly they have a better resume than Michigan. To me, the committee told Florida State last week, you cannot lose a game. Because if you lose a game and you're already at 4 when you're undefeated, I don't think Florida State, Bill, gets in with one loss. So they literally, to me, have no room for error. Do you see it that way?
Kind of. And they didn't get a buzzword. You know what I mean? Like, we could play committee bingo with the buzzwords they use. So resume and strength of victory would go to Ohio State. Body of work, and we've been doing it for 2+ years now with Georgia, would go to them. Strength of margin of victory, game control, that's Michigan. They're demolishing teams. Signs or no signs, they continue to do that. And then Florida State had the good non-conference win. But you know what I noticed that Boo Corrigan said about them? You heard the phrase, the LSU win was good, but we need to see a little more. Well, how much more are you going to see in the ACC with this schedule? So, yes, you're exactly right that there's probably a tremendous amount of pressure on Florida State to cap this season undefeated. You don't want to get in that one-loss pile-up with Alabama, Texas, Oregon. You know what I mean? Those teams, Alabama especially, they're probably the one that could steal a bid from everybody if they went out and beat Georgia.
You know, the fascinating thing as we go to Athens, as we begin to wrap up with Bill Bender, Ole Miss, Georgia, you alluded to it. Ole Miss is raising their hand over here saying, don't forget about us. Now, there's only 3 regular season games left. Georgia, they have the Egg Bowl, and I forget who they have sandwiched in the middle there. But if Ole Miss wins out, Bill, and again, that's a tall order. That means they'd have to beat Georgia. But if they win out, they finish 11-1 without winning their division. Do they have an argument to be in the playoff?
Yeah, they would, because really they only had the one bad half at Alabama where the offense stalled. And, I mean, this is such a huge statement week for Lane Kiffin. And he is 1-5 against, I think it's top 10 teams, 0-3 against top 5 teams since going to Ole Miss. It's very similar to what James Franklin at Penn State has going on this week. When are these guys going to get that signature victory? But yes, if they beat Georgia, they would have an opportunity. It's going to be tough to get to the SEC championship game with Alabama having the head-to-head, but if you're sitting there at the end of the road with an 11-1 record, you will be in the final conversation. Whether or not you get in is one thing, but they would at least be in the conversation sitting there at 11-1. Not about, especially if they have a head-to-head over Georgia.
What sort of chance do you give Ole Miss to go into Georgia and win on Saturday?
Can't turn the ball over. Can do what Mizzou and Auburn and South Carolina did. Georgia had first half scares against all those teams, but I think the key is how they play after halftime, because Georgia has been able to come out in all of those games and kind of stick with what they do, make some adjustments, take over the game defensively. So for Ole Miss, I think it comes down to getting off to a really good start, and that's a cliche, but it keeps them in the game. Quinshon Judkins gets going. The defense maybe gets a few turnovers and a little bit of luck. Anytime you go to Sanford Stadium, you do need a little bit of luck. I can't quantify how much, but if they can do all those things, they would have a chance to win.
You mentioned James Franklin and Penn State as we say goodbye, Bill. What about Penn State and Michigan? Michigan, obviously, with all the talk about what's going on there. Penn State, the last time they were in a headline game, their offense set college football back about 20 years. That was awful against Ohio State. They might have something to prove this week. You give Penn State a shot against the Wolverines on Saturday?
I do. I think it's going to be a close game, toss-up game in the fourth quarter, and it comes down to a couple things. Drew Aller, do they let it cut it loose at home this time, not on the road, against that Michigan defense? And he has 20 touchdowns and 1 interception, but he really needs to make a couple deep passing plays. I mean, it comes down to that. And then on the other side, Michigan's running game hasn't been dominant the last 3 weeks. They rushed for 414 yards against Penn State last year. I think they're going to struggle to get half of that this week. It's going to be a defensive struggle, a classic Big Ten headbanger. Still like the Wolverines to win. Have no prediction on how the Big Ten may intervene and maybe suspend Harbaugh this week. I still think that could take things to a different level, but if we're strictly talking on the field, I think Michigan wins a tight one.
Bill, final question. Last week the committee had Ohio State, Georgia, Michigan, Florida State, 1 through 4. If you were in the committee, would you see it that way or would you change anything?
I would flip Georgia and Ohio State. I know Georgia hasn't played anybody, but there's a little bit, I think, as they win another ranked game, if they win this week, I definitely think they'll be number 1. That would be 3 wins against ranked opponents at that point, and they continue to roll. Ohio State's been winning with a gritty formula in their defense. I think they belong 2. Michigan's probably right where they're at, and they could move up. If they demolish Penn State like they've been everybody else, you can make a case that they should be number 1.
Bill Bender of the Sporting News does a terrific job covering college football, and he's always kind with us with his time here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Bill, appreciate it, man. We'll talk again soon.
Hey, no problem. Thanks for having me on. Take care.
There's something special about radio play-by-play. Always has been. In Jacksonville, your place for play-by-play is 1010XL.
Hey everybody, Mike Dempsey here for Awaken 180 Weight Loss. Now, how many times have we heard it? Lose weight without lifting a finger. It's tempting, isn't it? But deep down, we know there's no shortcut to true health. Number 1 rule, eating right. Now, you might consider the new medications, and yes, you'll see a difference, but will it last? The latest study from the Journal of Diabetes, Obesity, and Metabolism found that almost 90% of the participants regained at least half of their weight back. I wanted a solution, not a Band-Aid. So I put my trust in Awaken 180 Weight Loss. And as you all know, it's paid off great. I dropped my 25 pounds in just over a month, something I never thought I'd say about a weight loss program. It actually was easy. I haven't put a pound back on since. I finally found my solution for weight loss. You can find your solution by calling 844-346-1800. Again, 844-346-1800, or reserve your consultation online by going to awaken180weightloss.com.
Are you ready for the ultimate happy hour experience? Look no further than Bellwether, downtown's undisputed champion of good times. It's Tuesday through Saturday from 4 to 7 p, with the exception on Friday when happy hour starts at 11 a.m. Rally the team and head over to Bellwether. The vibe is cool and the food is unbeatable. Free parking after 6 p on weekdays and all weekend. Bellwether Restaurant, where great food and the best happy hour in town come together for an epic win.
Do you have a septic tank at your home or business? You know the EPA recommends that your septic tank should be pumped out every 3 years, right? What about your drain field? Is it performing properly? Maybe it's time for a full septic system inspection. We're Duck Duck Rooter Plumbing and Septic Services, and we would love to help you with all of your septic needs. Give us a ring to get service scheduled ahead of the holidays. 904-862-6769. That's 904-862-6769. Or duckduckrooter.com.
With tens of thousands of satisfied patients across America, it's no surprise QC Kinetics gets 5-star reviews.
I'm feeling on top of the world because of QC Kinetics.
I'm able to do the things that I wasn't able to do for a long time.
I can recommend them highly. I would recommend QC to anybody. QC Kinetics has changed my life.
I couldn't believe it. I honestly was skeptical, but the pain went from a 10 to a 0.
Real people with real lasting relief from joint pain.
QC Kinetics Regenerative Medicine is regenerating me.
It was super successful, and I recommend everyone seek out QC Kinetics as an alternative to surgery.
This non-surgical approach is definitely the future.
I tell as many people as possible. I am an ambassador. I love QC Kinetics.
QC Kinetics, the nation's leader in advanced regenerative medicine. No drugs, no surgery. Call QC Kinetics now for your free consultation.
Call QC Kinetics, 904-274-5522. That's 904-274-5522. 904-274-5522.
Weekends were made for sports, and I'll tell you my take on this weekend's best options. Pick it here. Watch for Weekend with Dan on YouTube and Facebook. Weekend with Dan is brought to you by Stone Core. We do outdoors better.
The year is almost over. Do you need cash for the holidays or want to be credit card debt-free for the new year? Call Loan Pronto today. Their Express Equity line of credit can get you $20,000, $50,000, $100,000 in as little as 5 days. Listen, if you have a ton of equity in your house and Loan Pronto can help you turn that equity into cash, you can access up to 95% of your home's value. Use the money to pay off all your credit cards, pay off personal loans, or start that home improvement project. You can get the money you need now and still keep your primary mortgage intact. So your 3% rate, it's protected. And with Loan Pronto's Express Equity Line program, 90% of the time, there's no need for an appraisal. So you can get your money super fast. Get the holiday cash you need or pay off all those credit cards before the new year. Get yourself on solid financial footing before the year ends and call Loan Pronto now. 904-999-1508, 904-999-1508 or loanpronto.com. Equal Housing Lender, NLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
Come on, admit it. Almost everyone you know seems to be playing pickleball now, right? So whether you just want to learn how to play or you're ready to show off your elite pickleball skills, the Y is the place for you. Visit our brand new McGuire Family Pickleball Center at the Brown Family YMCA in Ponte Vedra Beach. 5 top quality outdoor courts and 3 amazing indoor courts where you can learn about dinks, dill ball, falafel, the kitchen, and more pickleball slang at the Y.
Come out and see the drill this Thursday morning for the start of the Lifetime Enclosures Weekend Open House Sale. It's football season, which means specials on glass enclosures with flooring all weekend long. Open house Friday through Sunday at Lifetime Enclosures.
Make a crucial catch against colon cancer. Hicken here for the Borland Groover Foundation. If you're 45 or older, the ball is in the red zone to get screened. The key to surviving colon cancer, early detection and prevention. 45 is the new 50. Get screened for colon cancer now. The Borland Groover Foundation is a nonprofit organization devoted to building a healthy and equitable community that is free from colon cancer. Visit BorlandGrooverFoundation.com for more.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. This is Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Chargers 14-3 over the New York Jets about midway through the second quarter. Week 9 finale, National Football League. Right back at it Thursday night with Week 10. And my gracious, what a terrible Thursday night game with Carolina and Chicago. If you woke up this morning in Charlotte, North Carolina, I was thinking about our friends up there at FNZ Radio. You think about what C.J. Stroud did in Houston yesterday, and you think about what Bryce Young is doing in Carolina. Not only did Carolina trade all of those assets to move up to number 1 to take Bryce Young, they drafted the wrong guy. They look like they drafted the wrong guy. C.J. Stroud looks like he's better than Bryce Young, so certainly Carolina, yuck. But we will have Carolina and Chicago on Thursday, Week 10. And, of course, the Jaguars back in action Sunday, 1 o'clock, against the San Francisco 49ers. It was about a month ago that the 49ers were thought to be maybe the best team in football. And then McCaffrey got hurt, and then Trent Williams got hurt, and then Deebo Samuel got hurt, and all these things started happening, and they lose a game, and they lose another one, and they've lost 3 in a row. Brock Purdy, all sorts of questions about him. Interestingly enough, San Francisco had a bye as well this week, so the Jaguars had 2 weeks off. The Niners had 2 weeks off. It's going to be very interesting on Sunday between the 5-3 49ers and the 6-2 Jacksonville Jaguars, and we'll have you covered all week long here on 1010XL. Speaking of that, it is Monday night, which, of course, around here means Monday night coaching with Campo. My friend Dave Campo, former head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. He's our head coach here on Hacker After Dark. We're going to catch up with the coach in less than 10 minutes. We'll talk Trevor Lawrence, we'll talk about the bye week, and then we'll preview San Francisco, and we'll talk about defending Everbank Stadium. The Jaguars have played 8 games. Only 3 of them have been in Duval County, right? They lost to the Chiefs, they lost to the Texans, they beat the Colts. That's it. 5 of their last 9 games are at home, including 4 of the next 6, which is San Francisco, Tennessee, Cincinnati, and Baltimore. It is a really good home schedule over the next 6 weeks. But the Jaguars have played a lot better on the road than they have at home. They played a lot better in London than they did in Jacksonville. They need to take that positive play and bring it back to Duval County. Bring it back to Everbank Stadium, and they'll get their first opportunity on Sunday against the 49ers. Dave Campo, Monday Night Coaching with Campo, coming up next. Monday night edition of Hacker After Dark with Dylan Denmark, the Hacker Ryan Green with you. It's 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
There's a reason Friday is our favorite day of the work week. Bingo. Pre-game Friday.
This is your game plan.
It's your stepping stone to the weekend. Pre-game Friday.
Now we got a game.
Is brought to you by Dream Finders Homes and MyBookie on 1010XL.
Attention car buyers, are you in the market for a new vehicle? Are you noticing the markups on vehicles on dealers' lots? Well, come to Key Buick GMC, where we never have markups on our vehicles. Ask for Derek or Brian. In addition, Key Buick GMC is the only Buick GMC dealer with a lifetime powertrain warranty on all new Buicks and GMCs. Holidays are approaching, and we are your local service headquarters. That's Key Buick GMC. We are professional grade across the street from Tinseltown, Southside and Gate.
At ABBQ, they are turning up the heat this football season like no other. Picture this, 15 massive TVs strategically placed throughout the restaurant so you won't miss a single touchdown. Step into their huge outdoor area where the excitement of the game meets the fresh air. Here's the kicker, and this is a big one for me. They got the sound on blast throughout the restaurant for the whole game. Your destination for mouth-watering barbecue and an unforgettable game day. ABBQ, meet and drink with us.
Hi, this is Dave Barker. Want to grow your hair back?
IHRS, right here in Jacksonville, is the only hair transplant clinic in the Southeast to offer multi-unit hair grafting and the 45-minute PRP treatments. Grow your hair back. Call now for a free in-person evaluation. 904-777-IHRS, 904-777-4477, or visit hairforme.com.
This date in sports history is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On November 6, 1869, the first intercollegiate football game took place. Players used their hands or feet as Rutgers beat Princeton 6-4.
Pastor Joby Martin here with the Church of 1122. We are honored once again to partner with the Boys and Girls Club of Northeast Florida for the Great Futures Weekend, which includes golf and Mackenzie's 5K run at the esteemed TPC Stadium course. Help us continue to honor Mackenzie Wilson's legacy. That's Friday and Saturday, November 17th and 18th. You can golf or you can run. It'll be a great time. Additional info at MackenzieRun.org. Proceeds go to the Boys and Girls Clubs of Northeast Florida.
Be here and be loud as the Jaguars take on the Tennessee Titans Sunday, November 19th. Be at the bank for this divisional rivalry when Trevor Lawrence leads the team in an exciting matchup. Plus, join us as we celebrate Salute to Service and honor our military all game day long. Seats may be sold out, but a limited number of standing room only tickets are still available, so don't miss your chance to be there. Visit jaguars.com/tickets or call 904-633-2000 now.
If you're looking for exterior solutions that provide you reliability and durability, it's time to call Armor Guard Exteriors. Whether you need seamless gutters or gutter protection, hurricane products, impact windows, glass lanais, or retractable awnings and screens, we've got you covered. Call My Home Team today for your 5-star experience at 904-906-8669.
Armor Guard Exteriors, committed to quality, and that's a promise.
1010XL is a proud sponsor of Operation New Uniform's 10th Annual Heroes Gala, featuring retired Army Lieutenant Colonel and former Congressman Alan West. Saturday, December 2nd at Sawgrass Marriott. Operation New Uniform is a free, life-changing program that helped me, David Trenholm, successfully transition from a 20-year career in the United States Navy to the business world. Join 1010XL and sponsor Operation New Uniform's 10th Annual Heroes Gala today. Go to onuvets.org, that's onuvets.org today.
Men suffering from ED or PE, you'll see instant results on your first visit at Prime Men's Medical Center. For a limited time, your initial consultation and first treatment are totally free. You'll even get a gift that enhances performance in the bedroom. Call 904-664-8217.
These fall months are the perfect time to make sure that your roof has not been damaged after the storm season. So schedule a complimentary roof inspection with Universal Roof and Contracting. And right now, get 15% off your roof replacement and repairs. Plus, there's flexible financing options available. This offer expires November 30th and restrictions apply. Universal Roof and Contracting, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. License number CCC 057165, CBC 1258484.
UniversalRoof.com. Post-game Monday on 1010XL is brought to you by Dandy Foods, makers of quality fresh sandwiches and home of the good stuff. 1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Let's ring up another guest on the All-Pro Roofing phone line.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. It is a Monday evening, and we are glad you are with us. The Jaguars, fresh off a bye week, and all of a sudden, they got a big one coming up on Sunday. The San Francisco 49ers roll into town, 1 o'clock. Of course, you'll hear it right here on 1010XL. Let's talk 49ers, Jaguars. Let's talk bye week and everything that transpired yesterday in the NFL with my friend Dave Campo. It's always Monday Night Coaching with Dave Campo, former head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, is with us every Monday here on Hacker After Dark. Coach, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I, had a little bit of respite, although I don't like bye weeks because I like to keep rolling when you're rolling, especially. If you're not rolling, I like them. But I think at this point right now, we're ready to get rolling again.
Coach, take us through it. The Jaguars had Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday off. I imagine some of the guys came back in today, and they'll obviously get back into the regular weekly routine on Wednesday, heading into San Francisco on Sunday. So what transpires today when the guys return to the practice facility?
Well, this is an extra day. There's no question. And they got 2 extra practices last week. I guess it's now a league rule. You have to be off Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So I think in some ways that's good. It gets them a chance to heal up and not be, on the field. The only guys working are the guys that are a little banged up probably. So today is an extra day to really get the game plan going. And I think that's a real plus when you play against a good football team like San Francisco, although they're off their bye as well, which, that might negate it. But at the same time, you want your guys to play real well against a good football team like San Francisco. There's an advantage in that realm right there.
Coach, we haven't talked since the trade deadline last week. The Jaguars acquire a new offensive lineman in Ezra Cleveland, but do not do anything as far as affecting the opposing quarterback, did not bring in a pass rusher. Your thoughts, your reaction to what the Jaguars did and were not able to do at the trade deadline?
Well, I think they did try to get a pass rusher. I think they were involved in a number of different discussions, Burns and Sweat and probably Chase. But, they made the decision. They've been pretty, straightforward in saying that they like the guys they've got and they think they're getting better. And if you look at pressure situations, they've been pretty darn good. Sacks, obviously, Josh Allen is jumping out there, which is great. I think Walker was a little bit better. Chaseon's had a couple sacks. I think they're getting a little bit more pressure inside with Smoot back. So, again, I would have liked to have gotten one of those named guys, but the price is so high that you have to really look forward no matter what the situation. As far as the offensive guard is concerned, I think that's a big plus. I really think that he will solidify a little bit inside. I believe he will start. I think the bye week came at a perfect time for that. Talking to my guy that worked for me with the Cowboys, Andre Patterson with the Giants, defensive lineman, line coach. He was at Minnesota with Rauscher and worked against Ezra Cleveland, and he said the guy's a really good athlete that is better than anybody they kept. He was surprised they traded him. So I think they got a little bit better there. They definitely got a little bit better depth-wise, and I think that's a plus.
Coach, the bye week, right? Doug Peterson, the coaching staff, they've been at work. They took a couple of days from themselves, but certainly they've been looking at what's worked in the first 8 games, what hasn't. Will we see anything different from the fans' eye or the media eye come Sunday? Is 2 weeks enough time to maybe change something in the offense here, change something in the defense there? Does that sort of stuff happen during a bye week?
Yeah, no question. They're studying themselves. They're studying the things that they didn't do well. I don't know that the fans will see a big difference unless the execution is better, at what they're attempting to do. But they will certainly look at their tendencies and make sure that the change will be for the defensive coordinator on the other team. Because, they're going to look at the things that they've done well. They'll probably window dress in those things a little bit with maybe a different motion, maybe a different formation. The thing they've done poorly, they will have to make a decision on what they can do to get better. And one of them, obviously, is probably short yardage. So it gives them a chance to really look at themselves and see what the other team is looking at. And that's really important. As a coordinator, when I was calling defenses, I really leaned heavily on what initially in the ball game, what the other team did. Then you have to be able to adjust during the game.
Look, you can't help when the NFL puts your bye week on the schedule. And normally, right in the middle, 8 games in, 9 games to go would be a great time for a bye week. But, man, the Jaguars were cooking, Coach. As you mentioned, 5 straight wins. They still have the longest win streak currently in the NFL. Any concern to you that after a week off, the Jaguars may lose a little bit of whatever they had over that 5-game winning streak?
Well, I think momentum is very important, and that's why I don't like the bye week personally. So do I have any concern? Listen, I'm a fatalist. I have concern every time I coach against somebody else. But I think that that's a possibility. I think this team has a pretty good understanding of who they are and what they can do. I think it was probably told them many, many times during the 2 days, the Tuesday and Wednesday when they practiced, about how important it is to stay sharp. And that means take care of yourself and get ready to go and make sure you show up on Monday ready to roll, because this isn't just another team coming in here. You can say whatever you want about 3 losses in a row, but this back stretch with them and the way Houston's playing now, and the young guy with the Titans, and Baltimore and the Bengals. they've got to get themselves ready to go. And I think that that's something that this team has a pretty good handle on.
Couple of more for Dave Campo. It's always Monday Night Coaching with Campo here on Hacker After Dark. I want to preview San Francisco, Coach, and we'll do that in a moment. You mentioned Houston, all right, and I know that you're not on Twitter or X, and which is probably a good thing because your head might have exploded yesterday. So many Jaguar fans, or self-proclaimed Jaguar fans, after watching what C.J. Stroud did yesterday, all of a sudden are saying, oh, C.J. Stroud's a better quarterback than Trevor Lawrence. And look, did C.J. Stroud play great yesterday? Of course he did. He set an NFL record with yardage and passing touchdowns for a rookie. I mean, it was nothing short of sensational. Although they seem to leave out the fact that he threw for $140 and no touchdowns last week and a loss to Carolina, right? It's such a week-to-week league, and people just jumping at the opportunity to proclaim C.J. Stroud is a better quarterback than Trevor Lawrence was, quite frankly, Coach, getting me sort of fired up yesterday.
Well, first of all, I text all our guys, including you, and I said that. I said maybe he's a better quarterback, and you know darn good and well that I don't believe that. I just did it to get a little bit something going. But I will tell you this, that was the most disgusting defense that Tampa Bay threw out there. No disrespect to Todd Bowles, because I think he's a good defensive coach. But whatever he threw out there yesterday, that was absolutely ugly. I think I could have thrown for about 300 against that defense, and I got a bad shoulder. I think the kid's a good football player. I think that he is the right guy for them going forward. But it takes a lot more than just him. We've got a better roster than they do, but you can't take them lightly, that's for sure, because number one, they play really well at home. And number two, they have shown that they are capable of making some plays. So, I look at him, listen, there could be really 4 really good quarterbacks in this division going forward. I think, the guys that they've got right now at all of the guys in the AFC South are all capable of being pretty good players. And I think Stroud is probably the best of that group right now.
Coach, you spent decades in the National Football League. How insane was what Josh Dobbs did yesterday in Minnesota?
Well, I just said to my wife doesn't even talk football with me, but I said to her this morning, I said, do you know who Joshua Dobbs is? She said, no. I said, well, let me tell you something. He's a journeyman quarterback that almost beat us last year. And he goes traded over there and had 2 days of practice, and he knows enough of the game plan to throw for 3 touchdowns and win a football game. You got to give that kid credit. I know he's smart. He has a good arm. But just to be able to do that and not even know half the players' names is a feat that, that just goes to show you that any quarterback in the National Football League, just remember there's only, 64 of them, first and second team quarterbacks. I think I'm wrong on that by 1, but maybe, whatever. Those guys are all there for a reason, whether they're a backup quarterback or a starter. And he, to me, is an anomaly. I mean, be able to do that was fantastic for him.
It was crazy, and he was actually practicing the center quarterback exchange on the sideline because he had not taken the center quarterback exchange from his center. He literally had never done it because he arrived on Tuesday. He did not get any of the first-team reps. All right, kid, go in there on Sunday and to lead them back to a win. Absolutely incredible. It was fun watching those endings almost simultaneously. There was Stroud in Houston, Dobbs in Minnesota, so the bye week was fun. Now it's back to the Jaguars for you and I and all of us here on 1010XL. We'll have the 5th quarter 2 hours after the Jaguars and the Niners go final. Brand new location. Want to tell people, Players Grill, my neck of the woods, over in Mandarin on San Jose Boulevard. Leon Searcy, Dave Campo, and myself will be out there Sunday evening. And, Coach, the 49ers roll in, and you alluded to it earlier. They're wounded. They've lost 3 in a row. They had a bye week to think about it. And during that bye week, they added Chase Young. So this Jaguar offensive line now is going to have to deal with Bosa, with Young, and 3 other former first-round picks that the Niners have on their defensive front.
Yeah, that's a good group. I mean, you look at Bosa and Hargrave and Armstead, that's a good group of rushers, and Chase Young added to it. Again, our offensive line has done pretty well with keeping people off of Trevor for him to be able to throw the football, and that's going to be a big part of this football game. There's no question about it. To me, I think that's why the addition of another guard might be a really good thing. This is going to be a tough ball game because when you look at the two teams statistically, San Francisco definitely has the edge. They're going to test our run defense for sure, and our run defense has been really good. When you look at the combination of they've rushed the ball 240 times and only passed it, their average 225. But to be honest with you, they're a really good executing football team, and that's going to put the pressure on us. We're going to have to do some things to stop the run game, and from there, we've got to make plays.
I know you coached against Mike Shanahan. Obviously, you're familiar with the family. What do you like about Kyle Shanahan? Certainly, he is one of the more respected offensive minds in the NFL.
Well, I think he does what what you have to do to win. He's one of those guys that has the ability to come up with a call at a critical time and those kind of things. Not everybody has. He has that. I think he's got the guys that he wants. The team looks very similar to what he wants, what he's done his whole career, and what he's done with the quarterback. And again, I don't know how much, I'm sure he's actively involved in what Purdy's doing. To have a guy be Mr. Irrelevant, come in and do what he's done over the years, I think he's a darn good football coach, and he kind of reloads every year. So, this is a big ball game. I mean, these are the kind of games that really show the Jags who they are. And playing at home, I feel good about that. Playing at 10 in the morning for them, I feel real good about that. And it's just going to be who plays the best on that day. But I like Kyle Shanahan. The one thing I thought that he threw the ball way, way too much early in his career, and now they're pretty balanced up.
And, Coach, as we wrap up, you alluded to it just then. To me, the Jaguars, at the beginning of the year, you had 5 marquee games, right, that were really going to tell you what you needed to know. Kansas City, Buffalo, Cincinnati, Baltimore, and San Francisco. You lost to Kansas City. You beat Buffalo. You're 1-1. The last 3 of those are all at home. You get San Francisco at home. You get Cincinnati at home. And you get Baltimore at home, which is a crazy home schedule here over the next 6 weeks or so. So a real opportunity for the Jaguars to not only make statements, but make statements in front of the home crowd.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be fantastic. I mean, I really believe that we're going to have a full house this weekend, and we're going to have a full house the rest of the season in my mind. And to me, that's huge. I mean, there's no question. I don't know that the home field advantage is as big as it used to be. But if I'm a betting man, if I'm coaching in Jacksonville, I'd rather be playing at home than on the road. I can tell you that right now. So for me, this is a great opportunity for us to show who we are. And to be honest with you, I'm not worried about any of those teams from the standpoint of whether or not our team is capable of winning those games. There's no doubt in my games. But again, it's how they play that day. And to me, if we're going to make a run in the playoffs, we got to win some of those ball games.
He's our head coach here on Hacker After Dark, my friend Dave Campo. You get him every Monday here on Hacker After Dark. And again, Sunday, new location, Players Grill, San Jose Boulevard in Mandarin. Coach, that'll be a home game for me. That's about 2 minutes from the front door. Hopefully we're talking about a victory Sunday at around 6 o'clock. I'll see you out in Mandarin, Coach.
Absolutely, and it's almost a home game for me, too, because I'm close to that. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to a victory Sunday.
Now, today's takeaways, brought to you by Key Buick GMC, where our family dealership has been helping families buy vehicles for over 50 years.
And thank you to my friend Dave Campo. It's always Monday night coaching with Campo here on Hacker After Dark as we look ahead to the Jaguars and the 49ers this Sunday at 1 o'clock. My big takeaways of the evening. Well, the main one is post-traumatic football disorder, PTFD, right? If you're a Jaguar fan, and does not apply to all of you, heck, it probably doesn't even apply to most of you. It applies to those people that were on social media this past weekend talking about how much better C.J. Stroud is than Trevor Lawrence. And if they are real Jaguar fans, which I do question that, but I'll take them at their word, and some of them say that they are, I just think some Jaguar fans have post-traumatic football disorder. The Jaguars have been so bad and so awful for the better part of the last 15 years that even though now times are good, even though now times are better in Jacksonville for the Jaguars than they've been in a decade and a half, people just cannot accept good news. They cannot accept the reality that the Jaguars are a good team and will continue to be a good team with the way this roster has been built. They need to look for the most negative thing possible. And why do they do that? Well, because that's been the reality of being a Jaguar fan for the better part of the last 15 years. Hopefully, they can work themselves out of it. Hopefully, they can accept the new reality that they have been given and that the Jaguars are a good football team and will continue to be a good football team, and they don't always have to look for the negative things in life. Let's hope they can all get over that. And by the way, there is absolutely no way I would take C.J. Stroud over Trevor Lawrence. We are such a what have you done for me lately society. C.J. Stroud, 8 days ago, threw for 140 yards, no touchdowns, in a loss to the winless Carolina Panthers. Yesterday, he has a great performance against Tampa, and apparently now he's the best quarterback on the planet. So I'll be curious to see what happens this week when Houston travels to Cincinnati and Jacksonville hosts San Francisco. As always on Monday, it is overreaction, both positively and negatively, at its best, here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM. Well, that'll just about do it for what has been a very, very busy Monday night edition. We certainly thank you guys for hanging out with us tonight. We have a ton of people to thank. Again, former head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, my friend Dave Campo. It's always Monday night coaching with Campo here on Hacker After Dark, and we do appreciate the head coach taking time out for us this evening. Thank you to Bill Bender of the Sporting News, national college football writer. He's one of my favorites. We talked Florida and Billy Napier. Interesting one with LSU on Saturday. Obviously, Florida State, Miami, Ole Miss, Georgia, a little Penn State, Michigan mixed in. It's got a really good Saturday coming up of college football, no question about that. So thank you to Bill Bender. And back in hour number one, Mark Long of the Associated Press. Always love talking ball with Mark. He covers both the Florida Gators and the Jacksonville Jaguars, and we appreciate him taking time out for us this evening. We will be back tomorrow night, and we will do it all over again. Baloo is off, so we will follow Helmets and Heels tomorrow night, beginning at 8 o'clock. Dylan Denmark was your producer tonight. Dylan, great job as always. I'm the hacker, Ryan Green. And again, Jacksonville, thank you for spending part of your Monday evening with us right here on Hacker After Dark, on 1010XL, and on 92.5 FM. So for all of us here on HAD, have an absolutely terrific remainder of your Monday evening, and we will do it all over again tomorrow night on a Tuesday, beginning at 8 o'clock. Until then, good night, Jacksonville.
Injuries are the Achilles heel of championship football.
That is not a good sign as the medical staff coming out.
Listen for the personal injury attorneys Farah and Farah Injury Update on 1010XL, the official personal injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Jacksonville. So I have been in the operating room most of my career, watching people have orthopedic surgery, watching people get knees replaced, hips replaced, shoulders fixed, and I knew there had to be a better way.
That's Dr. Daniel Zuckerman, a medical director for QC Kinetics, the nation's